and welcome everyone to the latest of Pat Passion's exclusive cricket talk show, View from the Pavilion. I am Sohaib, also known as Gotham Crony, and with me today, making his return on View from the Pavilion, I have Arshil, known on Pat Passion as Habri 420.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. This is Arshil, as Sohaib just introduced me, also known as Habri 420 on Pak Passion.
Right, well, the test series, we're just a few hours away, actually, so it's probably best that we get into the talks and debates that we've seen on Pat Passion this week. Arshil, I guess my first question is, the two tour matches that we had the Pakistan A squad go up against the South Africans, and we had the senior players, the Pakistan squad, go up against the UAE team. What were your impressions of the two tour matches, and were there any performances that you walked away with an eye on?
Yeah, I think as always, the tour matches are they're helpful. They get the players in a frame of mind for the series, and even though the second opponent was UAE, I think there's a lot that can be learned from both matches. In particular, though, I'd like to stress on the Pakistan A versus the South Africans, because effectively they're the team that we're going to be playing in the series, and I think our batsmen, for the most part, some of the key players did put up a good show. Sohaib Maqsood scored 50, Ahmed Shahzad made 66, Shafiq chipped in with 42, Azhar Ali consistent with 54. So I think there's, that's a better sign. I mean, I know the pitches might be a little more friendlier, but still, I think performance-wise, that's a positive.
Right, I know I actually agreed with some Pat Passion members who said that Umar Amin should have decided to bat at the toss. So his batsmen could have gotten two chances to get some time out in the middle. But, I mean, it was good practice. I agree with you. The three players that were selected to join the test squad from the A squad were Ahmed Shahzad, Sohaib Maqsood, Asad Safi, who you just noted that all three did score runs in the tour match. Did you agree with the three players that were selected, or would you have gone with maybe an all-rounder such as Sohaib Maqsood, or maybe even another bowler?
Yeah, I think I would probably go with an all-rounder. I think you're correct in saying that maybe somebody like Sohaib Maqsood would have been a nice addition. I think what it leaves out currently is that we don't have a genuine all-rounder in our team, but also it's almost a vacancy, for the opening spot. So that sort of leaves a void. So it'll be interesting how when the final selection does come into play of who's actually playing, that will make an interesting look and feel to the team.
Right, it is curious that, I mean, like I said, we're a few hours away from the first test match, and we don't know for certain who will be opening for Pakistan. And, I mean, you question whether even the Pakistan think tank know, which can't be good. It's always good to, go in with a game plan and a mindset before you even leave Pakistan. It would have been nice. But, I mean...
Right. Mm-hmm.
I guess that's how the situation played out. The openers, they will be going up against, the premier fast bowler in the world at the moment, Dale Steyn. He tormented Mohammad Hafiz and even the rest of the Pakistan batsmen as well in South Africa. Do you expect him to do the same here in the UAE?
I think we may not see something as of a lethal spell as we did in the past, mainly because of the venue. But I think and Dale Steyn is making a comeback, so I think for some bits we may see our batsmen maybe a little bit relieved. I know the last time Pakistan played South Africa here, Dale Steyn didn't do exceptionally well. I mean, I think he took like 6 wickets or so within that 2-match series and was averaging over 46. But then again, I mean, I think for a good of bowler that he is, he can't be discounted. I think our batsmen, noting the fact that our batsmen aren't the most renowned for their technique and technically most sound. I think it'll still be an interesting a sight to see Dale Steyn bowling against them. Again, I would hope that our batsmen are to make use of the conditions as much as possible.
Right, and that series that you mentioned in 2010, both of those matches did, of course, end in draws. So no bowler was really able to make a breakthrough from either team. You mentioned, being able to stand up to Dale Steyn. Which openers would you go with, and whom do you trust from amongst the ones we already mentioned? Sohaib Maqsood was in the senior squad. We mentioned that Ahmed Shahzad and Sohaib Maqsood were called up. And Pakistan, they also decided to open with Anand Akmal in the tour match. He did actually end up doing well. He scored 71. We might have expected them to open with Azhar Ali as practice. But they went with Anand Akmal. Do you think there's a chance that they go with Anand, or do you think that was just for experimentation? And who amongst the other three players would you open with?
I think, as far as the openers are concerned, I would say that Khurram Manzoor is definitely, I think it should be really a no-brainer as far as his spot is concerned. He should be there without a doubt. As for the other position, I would like to see Ahmed Shahzad get the nod and actually make his Test debut. He's been in the side, in the international side overall in ODIs and T20 for some time. So I think it may be time to give him a shot in Tests. But ideally, I'd like to see them mainly because Ahmed Shahzad, because he's opened in the past in different formats. So I think having him there is a good sort of, we're introducing a new face in Tests, but also the fact that he's now in, he's familiar with the position, and he may, hopefully will complement Khurram Manzoor well top of the order.
Right, and he's been part of the ODI and T20 team, Ahmed Shahzad, I'm speaking of, since 2009. And if you look at his strike rate in domestic cricket, and even since his comeback to the ODI side against West Indies recently, and Zimbabwe, his strike rate is sometimes that which you would see in a Test level.
Absolutely.
So he's shown that he's able to play out long innings, and he's able to lead good balls alone and punish the bad ones. So I personally would agree with Ahmed Shahzad and Khurram Manzoor. Okay. So we both agree on opening with Khurram Manzoor and Ahmed Shahzad. Would you expect one of those two to be amongst the leading run scorers for Pakistan? Or would you expect maybe one of the senior players like Yunus Khan or Misbah al-Haq to be one of the key batsmen for Pakistan?
I think Khurram Manzoor's role in the opening slot definitely makes him one of the key batsmen, because, as we've seen in the past, our openers have failed to get Pakistan off to a good start, and it's the way our openers essentially see off the new ball and the initial spell from the South African paceman will play a big part in how our later batsmen then are able to whether they get under a lot of pressure, but essentially I think it starts from the opening pairs, and Khurram Manzoor's role in that is very pivotal. In addition to that, I'd say as always, Yunus Khan and Misbah, their roles, as we've seen in the past, they hold the batting lineup together, the middle order, as it is. So they will play a major role, or are expected to at least. But I think if a new member of the side, newer or a younger member of the side, such as Omar Amin or Ahmed Shahzad, if he gets a go, are able to score runs, I think that will be a huge positive for Pakistan, and it'll give a little more hopes to our fans in terms of our batting resources and our ability to continue to flush out new batting talent, despite what the common thought may be about our batting lineup at present.
Right, and I'll also throw in an honorable mention for Azhar Ali. We've almost forgotten about. He's become like a permanent number 3 batsman, and when you think about a Test lineup, the number 3 batsman is key. And you look at some of the number 3 batsmen around the world who come in one down. They're amongst the best batsmen in their sides. So I think Azhar Ali at least has to play 1 or 2 crucial innings in this tour for Pakistan to have a chance. Switching over to the other side with the bowling attack, we have Junaid Khan, Saeed Ajmal, and Abdur Rahman, who are almost guarantees to be the starters for the first three spots. It's the fourth spot, which we've seen a lot of talks and debates about on Pack Passion, whether to go in with a second fast bowler or to go in with an all-spin attack and go with your strength. Would you go with Muhammad Irfan or give a debut to Zulfikar Babak for the fourth bowler spot?
That's a tough question, and I think both have their pros and cons, and I'm almost inclined to say that I'd still want to see Mohammad Irfan play at least for the first test. If we're going to play two spinners, and assuming let's say we go with Saeed Ajmal and somebody and Sabdur Rahman or for our two spinners, then and I think I would still want to see on the pace side, I would still want to see a little more resource with Mohammad Irfan playing. But then again, that's something that we may need to think about because in terms of making sure we utilize Irfan the proper way and not overbowl him or make him sort of play him according to the situation. So I think that's the key. But I would almost say that I would like to see Mohammad Irfan play in tomorrow's match.
Right. I mean, like you said, it is tough, and I've gone back and forth. I initially was Muhammad Irfan, but then they've left out Muhammad Hafiz, who used to chip in with a few overs of spin, and then questions started coming out about Muhammad Irfan's fitness. But and like I said, I've gone back and forth all week, and I switched over to Zulfikar Babar, and even now, I guess today, now I'm leaning towards Muhammad Irfan again. So I think if necessary, maybe in the second test, they can go with Zulfikar Babar. But I agree with you. I would go with Muhammad Irfan, Junaid Khan, Saeed Ajmal, and then either Abdur Rahman or Zulfikar Babar for the second spinner spot in the lineup. So amongst all of those bowlers that I did mention, who do you think will be the key bowler? Who do you think will be the leading wicket taker for Pakistan in this two-test series?
I think I'm inclined to saying Saeed Ajmal. That may be the popular answer as well, but I think he's just he's too good of a bowler to sort of leave out in terms of consideration. It could be. I do have a feeling though that spin will dictate in terms of the wicket takers. Who the leading wicket takers are, but I would still go with Saeed Ajmal. I think he will. I hope he proves to be a handful, and he does become the leading wicket taker after the series.
Right, you and every other Pakistan cricket fan, we need Saeed Ajmal to lead the attack, as he did versus England a few years ago in the UAE when they whitewashed them 3-0. It's interesting. We had this poll up on Pack Passion, and Saeed Ajmal, as you would expect, was the leading vote getter. But in second place was Zulfikar Babar, who isn't even a certainty to play either test.
Right.
So the fans, at least the Pack Passion numbers, have confidence in Zulfikar Babar if he does get selected. We've talked about the South African side, the tour matches, the preparations, and the batting and bowling of Pakistan. So it's time to make a pick, and I'm going to keep on record here with two-test series. What's the result?
I want to say 1-0 to Pakistan. I know, as you mentioned last time when they played in the UAE, it was a drawn series, 0-0. But I think we can, there's a couple of X factors and variables, and we can hope that Pakistan can, come out victorious in at least one of two of the tests and end the series at 1-0.
Right, and I agree. This was another poll that we had on Pack Passion, and I actually voted 1-0 Pakistan, which amongst the members was the leading vote getter as well. So the fans are cautiously confident. It is the number one team in the world, but so was England. So and no one would expect 3-0.
Absolutely.
I don't know how many fans are expecting another whitewash of 2-0. I think at the minimum, I know South Africa is a lot stronger, especially in the batting lineup, but I would be disappointed with anything less than a 0-0 draw. A loss in the series would be, that would be unexpected, and I think there would have to be some changes in the squad, especially after what happened in Zimbabwe and in South Africa earlier this year. If they walk away with anything less than a drawn series in the UAE.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I guess we'll leave a little bit of gap, and then we can talk about the Test Championship for a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, Arshil, also we saw yesterday the ICC announced and unveiled the logo for the ICC Test Championship, which will be held in 2017, I believe. What were your thoughts about the details that were given about the format of the Test Championship, and do you think it's something that would work?
I think there's definitely potential, but I think even as the biggest thing as a Pakistani fan is I think it's a good idea, but even more so important is the fact that the top 4 teams are the ones that will be eligible or will qualify to participate or partake in the championship tournament. And as it stands currently, if we were to take the qualifiers as of today, Pakistan would definitely not make it, considering they're ranked at number 6. So I think with this inception, I think it's a good incentive and a motivation, hopefully, for our players to work harder to sort of have an aim to make sure that they're consistently playing good cricket, and once they consistently play good cricket, results will naturally come, and they can then expect the rankings will more or less reflect that. So I think there's an incentive for Pakistani players, the team, the cricket board, the fans, and even though things may not be looking good at present, but I think this is something that we can work towards and use this almost as an incentive to make sure that we are in that top 4, or maybe you even use that as a benchmark to where we need to be consistently.
Definitely. Even amongst the players, you see a lot of younger players who, and understandably, are gearing towards and attracted towards the T20s and the domestic leagues around the world. But I think, as Misbah Haq mentioned at the unveiling, this gives something for Test cricketers to look forward to as well, something that they can take home, like T20 players and one-day players, as they have the World Cup and the World 2020 as well. Okay, that's all from us today. As the Test series is approaching quickly. Hopefully, as we mentioned, Pakistan, they are capable of pulling off an upset. Whether they'll be able to repeat the England heroics, we'll see. But it will be closely followed. But I think it'll be a series that even a neutral fan will be able to watch, and because from us pulling away from Pakistan, from a South African perspective, to see how the number 1 team does in the UAE will be interesting to see. Because they've done well in Australia, they've done well in England. In the past 2 times they've visited India, they've drawn the series. Now they're going up against a weaker side, comparably, in Pakistan. So it'll be interesting to see from both sides. I think it'll be a great series to watch.
Absolutely.
Right, so all our listeners, be sure to join us again in a couple weeks' time for the next episode of View from the Pavilion.